So just remember, training breaks the body down, but recovery builds it up. Hey guys, Brody here from Outperform Fitness. So today I'm going to be talking about the art of finding your recoverable training volume. So before we get into that, I've just got a couple of announcements. So number one is looks like I'm going to be doing a face-to-face, so in-person practice pre-entry fitness assessment in Brisbane. So I've put the feelers out to see where the most popular location you guys would like me to come, and it looks like it's Brisbane. So in the next coming months, make sure you keep an eye on my social media channels because I'll be putting out the dates that I'll be doing it. So it'll be just over a weekend. I'll do a Saturday and a Sunday PFA, and you can just come along, learn the actual test, learn the standards of the movements, and everything that goes along with it. And I can give you some advice on areas that you need to improve as well. All right, so number two announcement is if you are looking to improve your fitness, ready for the ADF, police, or something along those lines, then I've got a 12-week online program that is, it's just producing unbelievable results. So I'll put a link in the description to that one so you can check it out for yourself. But yeah, it's an online program. So if you're looking at getting yourself ready for those, the ADF, police, or something like that, then yeah, make sure you jump on board and check that one out because it's doing really, really well. Okay, so today's chat is going to be about the art of finding your recoverable training volume. So by that, what I mean is the amount of training that you can actually recover from to allow adaptations so that you actually get better from that training, okay? So you just need to remember with your training that your training needs to be stressing your body high enough to force it to adapt to something. So it can't be so low that it doesn't have anything to adapt to. It needs to be high enough so that your body feels the need, okay, I need to adapt to this. The body is really good at adapting to things just as long as that stress is high enough. But what you also need to make sure is that it's low enough so that you can actually recover from it so that you can adapt to it. So just remember, training breaks the body down, but recovery builds it up, okay? So the training volume needs to be high enough, or intensity needs to be high enough for it to stress the body and force it to adapt, but the training also needs to be low enough so that your body has the ability to recover from it so that it can adapt and get better at whatever it is you're trying to improve, whether it's your strength, your conditioning, anything along those lines, okay? So hopefully that puts it in simple terms for you. That's what we're aiming for with recoverable training volume, okay? It needs to be high enough, but low enough at the same time, all right? And this can change, okay? This can change varying, depending on many different things. So depending on the actual focus of your training, so strength training, like if you're going for pure strength training, that takes a lot of recovery to recover from very high loads. Now, then that can be vastly different to if you're improving a conditioning aspect. And it also depends on what phase of your training you are in as well. So say we're doing like a conditioning training cycle. We're trying to improve some sort of conditioning aspect. You might be starting the first phase at like some aerobic based training where it's really low volume, but really low intensity, but you can have pretty high volume of it because you can recover really easily from that low volume of training. Whereas if you start to get into some peak phases, like where you're training VO2 max or threshold or something like that, now that the intensity's gotten a lot higher, all of a sudden the amount of training that you can recover from reduces a lot because you keep that volume the same as what you did with that base training. You're not going to be able to recover from that amount of training at that intensity. So now that recoverable training volume is a lot less. So you have to train less to be able to recover from it, to be able to get fitter. Okay. Other things that can also affect it week to week, and this is really important for the guys that are in the Defence Force already, is PT is a huge one. I had the hassle of trying to do my own training, and I'm sure many of you do your own training outside of unit run PT or whatever the hell it's called in your service. Okay, unit run PT. When you have no control over the PT, I actually got really good at it because I ended up running the program, so I just made it whatever I wanted. But yeah, like depending on what is actually happening for your PT will have a big impact on what you can recover from with your own training. Because if you have like a massive PT session, you can't just keep your training the same as what you would if you had easy PT sessions. You need to be working smart with your training and thinking about what you can actually recover from, because it just negates the like the effectiveness of your training if you're just running yourself into the ground. Now, I'll go over markers that you should be looking for when you're trying to figure out whether you're recovering from it later, just in a second. But I'll just go over some more stuff with week to week. So other things that can affect it. So outside of guys that are in the defense force already, if you play sports, so and you're training through the week, all depending on what's happening for your training sessions. Is it a big session or is it an easy session, and so on. You need to put this, like, structure it into your own training and adjust things week by week according to what's actually happening. Do you have a match on the weekend? Did you play the whole game? Did you only play half the game? Was it a hard game? All those types of things you need to factor in. Other things that will also affect the amount of training that you can recover from week to week is your nutrition and hydration. Huge part of it. If you're not hydrated through the week, your body's made up of 60% water. If you're not hydrated, you're not going to recover from anywhere near as much training as if you are hydrated. Same thing with your nutrition. Are you fueling yourself properly? Are you eating foods that actually create inflammation, or are you eating foods that reduce inflammation? If it's the latter, then you're going to be able to recover from more training. And if you're fueling yourself properly, you're going to be able to recover from more training. As you can see, it's all about this recovery. Training is only such a small portion of it. You need to be thinking about the flow-on effects from it and the ability to recover from that training. Now, remember, training breaks the body down, recovery builds it up, okay? That's when you get fitter. Other things that can affect it, your sleep, huge part of it. Sleep is recovery. That is your body going into a recovery state and just shutting everything down, building everything up and resetting everything. If you're not sleeping properly, that's probably one of your number one things to try to improve. There's different studies on the amount of sleep that you need, but anywhere from 7 to 9 hours sleep is a pretty good sweet spot. But it varies from people to people, the same as the amount of training that you can recover from. So, some people can get away with even 5 hours sleep. I've seen some people, but 7 to 9 is a pretty good sweet spot. Everyone sort of usually falls within there with a couple of outliers, but everyone is different. You need to work with yourself and figure out, your requirements. And it's the same with this training, recoverable training volume. Two people could be on exactly the same program, but they recover completely different. So one person, this training program may be not enough for, whereas the other person, it's too much. So they need to adjust it. All right. Other things that will also hurt you change your ability to recover week by week is your stress. So not just training stress, but emotional stress, fatigue, everything, even sitting behind a laptop all day, every day, you're fatiguing your body through your mind. And if you're fully stressed out, stress on the body is stress. You still mobilize energy. Your body still reacts to that stress the same way as you do when you're training. Okay. So you need to take that into account as well with your recoverable training volume. If you are highly stressed through the week, it may be a good idea to back off the training slightly, making sure you're still training enough, but backing it off so that, because of that extra stress there, you're not going to be able to recover from as much training. Okay. And you can improve your recoverable training volume. So everyone sort of has a ceiling of what they can actually recover from. So you can't just keep getting better and better and just keep adding training, more and more training each day. But the fitter you get, the more you're able to recover from. That's a really simple one. But those other factors that I was talking about before, there are other things that you can manipulate so that you can recover from more training, which means you'll get fitter faster. You can put in more volume through the week and you can recover from that more volume. So if you can do more and recover from more, you're going to get fitter quicker. So improving your nutrition, your hydration, okay? These are the big ticket items. So number one is making sure you're taking into account all that extra stuff that you're doing, your PT, your sports, all those extra things. How is that working into your training? And are you being smart about it instead of just going, oh, I need to get this additional 5 days of training in because I've planned it? It doesn't work that way. You need to manipulate things and change things depending on what's happening week by week. But yeah, big ticket items to help you try to recover from more volume is number one, getting fitter, consistent training. Number two is nutrition and hydration. All right. And these aren't in order. These are just all big ticket. Okay. Nutrition, hydration, huge part of it. Making sure you're improving your sleep and you're trying to reduce as much external stress as possible. Obviously, you can't get away from that a lot of times, but do some additional stuff to reduce that stress. Do things you like, things to wind down, and try to lower that stress by implementing other strategies. Okay, so that is like recoverable training volume and things that impact it, and how to sort of work around those things. So when you are training, you need to have some sort of indication for yourself of whether you are actually recovering from your training. If you're just running yourself into the ground all the time, just adding training, just doing as much training as possible, and you're just not getting any better, what's the point of your training? Why not back it off, do a lot less? If you're improving, that's going to be 10 times better. You're getting towards your goal and you're not running yourself into the ground. So there's a few markers that you can look at to know whether you are actually recovering from your training. And the majority of these are off field, but there are actual some measurements there that you can take so that you can actually see whether your body's recovering or not. So you need to be in touch with your body. What's happening with your results, what's happening with your training, how you're feeling, all those type of things, and adjust your training accordingly. Okay. Don't just feel like I've got this set program, I need to stick with it. If you're smart about it and you adjust things, you're going to get more out of it than if someone just sticks to it no matter what's happening with PT, outside life, all those sort of things. Okay. So things like these markers that you should be looking towards to see whether you are actually recovering from your training. Right. Number one thing is, are your results improving? They're not going to improve every single week. You're going to have some flat lines. You're going to have some shitty weeks. But are you improving week by week with your results? If you're not improving week by week and you are doing enough training, chances are you're probably doing too much. You need to back it off slightly because your body's just constantly fatigued and it's not able to recover from the training that you're giving it, and it's not able to adapt. As I said, recovery builds you up. So if you're not getting better week to week, month by month, then your training volume might be a little bit too much for you to be recovering from. So results is a big one. Is your strength going up week by week? Are you able to run longer, faster? All those type of things that you're trying to aim for with your program. If you're not seeing things improving, and it can be as simple as feeling better as well. But if you don't see things improving, you need to look at your training volume. Is there enough there to start with? If there's enough, then maybe you're doing a little bit too much. Okay. Another little marker, and this is something that I used to do all the time when I was in the army. We'd always do 3, 4, maybe depending on what unit you were at, sometimes 5 day a week PT training, and then you're stacking stuff on top. So I'd be training 5, maybe 6 afternoon sessions as well. And then there was at one point I was even doing lunchtime stuff as well. I got to the weekends, I couldn't move. I would sleep my weekends away. I'd wake up, have some breakfast, I'd go back to bed and sleep. That's not what you should be doing. That is overtraining. No one should be at that state. You should not be at the weekend and just completely rat shit that you have to sleep the weekends away. Now, like I said, if you're going through big phases, like high intensity peak phases, 2 to 3 weeks worth, yes, you're going to feel fatigued and all that sort of stuff, but that should be only a very, very small portion of your training. The rest of the time, you should be getting to your weekend and still able to live your life. You should be getting to the end of the week. You feel like you've done something, but you still feel good. You can still go out and do stuff. You don't just have to go back to bed and sleep the weekend away. Okay, that's a huge one that I used to do. Even lunchtimes, I'd fall, like if I wasn't training, I'd fall asleep on the lounge at work while everyone's watching TV. I'd have a quick nap, then back to work. If that's happening, something's wrong. You shouldn't be that fatigued and you're not recovering from your training properly. Okay, learn from other people's mistakes. Okay, so yeah, not feeling run down, not sleeping the weekend away. Our results are improving, right? And you're not getting sick. If you find yourself getting sick or getting little niggly injuries that you just keep pushing through and all this sort of stuff that keeps going on with you, right? You may be doing too much. It's a big issue with people trying to improve their push-ups. They always get these little shoulder niggles and everything. It's because you're doing way too much volume. Like you're doing 1,000 push-ups a day because some challenge told you that that's what you're supposed to do when you want to improve your push-ups. You're not going to recover from it. So if you are falling, and I actually had a client, she was a rower, and yeah, she used to do a ridiculous amount of training. She came and trained with me. I've reduced her training, just gave her some quality stuff, and she like she was always getting sick. She stopped being sick. She started feeling heaps better, and her results, even her row results, were going through the roof because she wasn't doing anywhere near as much training what she was before, because she could actually recover from it. Okay, so if you are falling ill all the time, it's because your immune system is sacrificed because you're training too much. Now, recovering from training is taking away from your bodily processes, like your immune system. Your immune system is compromised. The energy that's normally used for that is now trying to get drawn away to recover from your training, reduce inflammation, and it's just stressed too much. And then when other things come in that you would normally be able to fight away, now you can't fight them away because it's been compromised. Okay, and those little niggling injuries, just because there's so much inflammation in the body, you'll get those little niggles that you normally shouldn't be getting. And that comes back to nutrition as well. If you're eating a poor diet, that will also have a big impact as well. And it's all about this recovery. Are you recovering? All these aspects will help with that. Okay, so they're just off field. Those first 3 things, are your results improving? Are you feeling run down at the end of the week? Like, are you sleeping your weekend away? Are you feeling ill? Are you getting little niggles here and there? Okay, so you can use those 3 things just off field to know whether you are actually you are recovering from that training volume and you are improving. So these next 2 things are things that you can actually measure, and it's 10 times, like it just puts another level on top of your recovery systems and your ability to manipulate your training depending on what's going on with your body. So number 1 thing is heart rate variability. So I did a video on this and it's in my YouTube channel. So just check out heart rate variability by Outperform Fitness. And I go into detail with heart rate variability. So that is an unbelievable tool to know whether you are recovering, whether things are going on in the body, whether you should back off things. And I'm telling you guys that are in the Defense Force and you do PT all the time, tracking your heart rate variability will be a game changer with your training. Knowing when to push, knowing when your body's actually adapting well with your volume of training that you're doing, it will be a game changer. And I'd love to put a little system in place to help you guys out with that, but I'll be looking at that. I was actually just chatting to someone about that, but I'm looking into it down the track a little bit. So yeah, heart rate variability, number 1, it's a game-changing tool to follow, to measure. So as well as that is tracking your resting heart rate. So this one's not as good as your heart rate variability, but most people have got some sort of heart rate tracker and can track their resting heart rate. If you see it changing like up or down on certain days, like maybe yesterday you had a ridiculous training day, or big PT session or whatever, and today you find your resting heart rate is 5, maybe 8 beats higher than what it normally is, then chances are your body is stressed out and it needs a bit more recovery, or something, some sort of passive recovery to help it recover from what has been going on. So you may have to back it off for the day or just change things around. So resting heart rate can give you a good indication as well. It's just a little bit harder because it can be up and down every now and then. It's just not as good as that heart rate variability measurement. All right, guys. And with all of that being said, and you putting it into place, it comes to you just auto-regulating your training through the week, depending on how much you're able to recover from. As I stated before, 2 people can have exactly the same program. One, it may be not enough for; the other, it may be too much for. So you need to figure out which one you are, going off everything that I've just told you, and auto-regulate your training around depending on how much you're able to actually recover from. And if you got that extra additional stuff in there, like your PT, sports, and working on your nutrition, your hydration, your sleep, your external stress, you're just improving that your body's ability to recover from more, so you're actually able to do more training, but still get that allow your body to get that adaptation and get fitter along the way. All right, guys. So that is the art of finding your recoverable training volume. So hopefully that helps you guys out. So make sure you take everything that I just spoke about into account. Auto-regulate your weeks. Just remember, there's no set programs. Okay, you need to adjust it from what's happening from you, but also know who you are. Like, maybe you're someone that's not doing enough training. Okay, you sort of need to find those limits as well. So sometimes you need to just push yourself that little bit too much to get a feeling for where that ceiling is, and know what it feels like. And having those measurements with the heart rate variability and everything will help you with that. But change things up for yourself and adjust them so that they're optimized for you. Okay. So like I said, guys, I'm going to just put a link in the comments for my Battle Ready Challenge. If you're getting ready for the ADF, police, or anything like that, this program is awesome. I'm not even it may sound like I'm blowing my own horn here, but I'm telling you, the results I've been seeing through it are ridiculous. So make sure you guys check that out in the description. And as well as that, guys in Brizzy, keep an eye out. I'm coming there to test your fitness. So we're going to be running through a couple of PFAs and giving you some tips and advice on your fitness. All right. And it's all free as well. So I'm going to be doing that for free. Okay. So I'm going to go on a road trip with a little friend of mine, and he's going to be helping me out. All right, guys, that is it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll catch you all later. See you.